Fox Business Alert Apple to report quarterly results in just a moment. Let's go to Deirdre Bolton in the newsroom, who is going to set up what to expect. Deirdre.
Yeah, so I think the bigger picture that we've been talking about Apple is, will its banking on wearables and services compensate for the fact that the iPhone sales are declining? Now, granted, they're still growing in the larger picture of things, but just down from the growth that they used to see. I mean, you remember the day, too, Moza, when they were like 60% of Apple's sales. That is no longer the case. So right now, services represent, I would say, about 20% of Apple's overall revenue. And so the company, Tim Cook, of course, specifically the CEO, has spoken to that, saying we want that piece of the pie to be quicker. So that's one thing that investors are going to be looking at, just how quickly can Tim Cook engineer this kind of transition from hardware to services. We're also, of course, going to be waiting for any kind of details that they're going to share about any of these streaming services. I mean, we know the Apple TV Plus, we know the skeletal points, but will more come out? Will they make other kinds of announcements? I think there are some people waiting for some surprises. I know that sounds like a contradiction in terms, but that's sort of where things stand. I just want to mention the stock, we've seen this make 5 new all-time highs this month alone. It is on a tear. It is up 54% year to date, and if you look at the S&P 500, 21.5%. I mean, Apple is crushing it so far this year. So we'll see if it can continue. As far as the brutal numbers, we are waiting for $284 a share, which would just, I want to highlight, represent a decline of about 2.5% if you look quarter on quarter, and then revenue to be unchanged if it comes in on target at $62.99 billion. Melissa.
All right, Deirdre, thank you. And just in case I don't get back in here, we're looking at sales for the current quarter, big things to look for, and software and services.
Absolutely.
Those are kind of the 2 big ones.
We have Susan Lee in Cupertino. She'll give us the numbers as soon as they cross. Stock up a little bit ahead of them as we wait for them to cross. It's Jonathan, Todd, and Lance are with us. I'll leave Lance out of it for a moment. He has the new AirPods Pro, so he's listening with noise cancellation capability to the show right now, I think. Jonathan, give us an idea of how you view Apple just before. We're going to get these figures, I would say, within seconds, so I'm going to step all over you. Yeah. What do you think of Apple?
We'll be watching all about those non-iPhone related categories, Connell. That's really the future of Apple. In the past, as Deirdre alluded to, revenue has been all about the iPhone, but now it's about the watch. It's about the earphones. It's about the services.
They're starting to come out. Yeah, well, that's. Are we ready, guys, to go out west? Thank you, Jonathan. Fox Business Alert with the numbers out. Susan Lee, spending the day in Cupertino, just spoke, I believe, to Tim Cook. First, give us the numbers, Susan.
Yep. It was a strong quarter for Apple. So the estimates were looking for something around $2.84 for earnings per share. That's profit. Apple came out way on top. So they put in a $3.03 earnings per share, stronger than expected. Revenue also beat as well. So Apple made about $64 billion in those previous 3 months. And it looks like it was much higher than analyst estimates that were calling for something around $62.99 billion. And here's why the stock will rally is the guidance going forward, heading into the all-important holiday shopping period. So Apple is now telling us that they're expecting to make around $85.5 billion to $89.5 billion in sales during the next 3 months. And that's much higher than what analysts have forecast. Analysts were looking for something closer to around $86.92 billion. And I just spoke to Tim Cook, also Luca Maestri, the CFO, and they tell me that it's a very bullish outlook heading into the holiday season. And in fact, the U.S. economy to them looks very strong. And I asked them, given that the interest rate cut that we got today from the Federal Reserve, does that help the consumer? From what they see, Tim Cook says he feels very good about the U.S. Now, as for China, because China has been really the laggard this year, he says that the bottom was hit in December and January, and things have picked up. In fact, for this year, they might be down in terms of sales in China, down 2%, which is not bad, given where they came from and the lagging iPhone sales that really hammered the stock at the start of this year. Now, as for tariffs, given that Tim Cook speaks a lot to President Trump, as we've seen, I asked him what he thinks about U.S.-China trade and how that's going right now. He doesn't know if those December tariffs will be repealed, since we know that iPads and also iPhones might be impacted with a 15% increase in tariffs. But he says from what he sees, and he doesn't know anything that we don't know because he's just going off what he's read, he thinks and he's optimistic that a deal will be signed next month between U.S. and China, at least a phase 1 deal that we've been talking a lot about. Now, Apple TV Plus, which will be launching this Friday, that's a new streaming service as the streaming wars kick off. Tim Cook says he's very excited about it because there's a lot to offer, and it's a very aggressive price point at $4.99 a month. Now, there were some segments in Apple's quarter that did miss, and I said, look, you know, there are some points where you came up short, and he said, where? Well, for one, Mac revenue came in slightly softer than expected. So Mac sales were around $6.99 billion. Analysts are looking for something closer to $7.5 billion, and they said it's a tough compare because last year, that's when they introduced those new Mac models. Also missing were iPad sales, and it looks like the street had very high expectations for iPads in the quarter, so they're looking for something at $4.8 billion in terms of iPad revenue. What Apple put in was $4.65 billion, and Tim Cook was a bit surprised when I said, look, I think you missed here. And I guess they said that was a very strong quarter for iPads in many years. But the street has pretty high expectations. Also, there's still a strong dollar effect as well, which impacted some of their earnings last quarter around. Now, they are, of course, giving back about $21 billion to the markets and the street by repurchases of shares. So that's helping lift the stock price as well when you take out some of the supply in the market. But all in all, very bullish and very optimistic heading into the all-important holiday shopping period. Guys?
Good summary, Susan. Up 2% on the stock. Susan stays with us as Jonathan, Todd, and Lance are back with Melissa and me to talk a little bit more about this. So Susan gave us a lot of numbers, guys, and many of them are very important. Almost every analyst told us going in that the most important number would be something she talked about early on, and that's how much revenue would the company be able to produce in this quarter, the one we're currently in, which is Apple's first quarter. If they, Todd Horwitz, hit the upper end of that range that they gave, $89.5 billion, it's way above estimates, as Susan pointed out. And that, you know, to me, that would say this new iPhone they came out with, it looks like it's pretty appealing, or at least they're confident. What do you think?
Well, I think one thing we know about Apple is they always underpromise and overdeliver anyway. So I don't think that the beat is that big of a deal right now because it was expected. They'd already beaten it down, but the stock itself knew going in because it's rallied for about the last 3 weeks coming into this number, and typically the stock will probably sell off here. But Apple's got a lot of work to do to reinvent themselves if they want to continue to maintain where they are, because they're really turning into what Microsoft was before they reinvented themselves. They're more becoming a utility with a lot of cash, and they need to do a lot of things. They actually should have bought Netflix years ago, but that's besides the point.
I mean, Lance, there's a similar theme here when they talk about, I mean, I remember software as services, when that phrase came out, and you're like, what does that mean? Their service revenue reaches an all-time high of $12.5 billion. That was one of the numbers that we were looking for. The estimate had been $12.22 billion. So they beat on that, but that kind of speaks to the point that was just made, that they're relying on these other, you know, sort of things instead of innovating the magical project.
Yeah, well, that's actually what jumped out at me. That you know, when we look at product revenue, it was the same time last year, $52 billion. This time, it's $51 billion. But then the big jump on the services side, and this is what Apple is relying on right now, because it's delivering great products, but it is getting harder and harder to differentiate these slab phones. And people are not upgrading as quickly as possible. They are spending money on certainly on products like wearables. I've got the AirPods Pro with me right now, and like people literally were lining up for these things this morning. So that's where they're looking, and they're looking at services. And 2 days from now we have TV Plus, which is going to be, I think, whether or not the shows are fantastic, I think is going to be a revenue driver, because they've undercut everybody on price. They're also bundling it with some. If you buy like an Apple TV, you'll get it for free. But I think because it's cheap enough, a lot of people are going to spend money there. And once you get them hooked on a service, a subscription, guess what? They just keep paying. And with iPhones, it changes.
I think there was some question. Oh, go ahead, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying that has been Apple's whole point, is to introduce people to the ecosystem, give them the opportunity to upsell them on a higher margin item like the iPhone, the earphones, but get them in as part of the ecosystem. And I tell you, the stock doesn't lie. If this was really a buy the rumor, sell the fact type of an operation, you'd see great earnings and the stock sell off. But the fact that the stock is hitting yet another new all-time high after hours indicates this trend is likely to continue.
That brings it, Susan. I wanted to ask you about that because it brings it to something you brought up about, again, I go back to what they said about the current quarter. Where's the excitement when you talk to Tim Cook? Because if they hit the top end of that revenue estimate, that's a real blowout number. I was going to bring up something about Apple TV Plus as well, but take that first on in terms of, is it the iPhone itself, old school, or is it some of these services items everybody else is talking about that Cook is fired up about?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely services. Both Cook and Luca very fired up about the services, given that they said this is an all-time record when it comes to care, when it comes to cloud, when it comes to music. So there's a big growth rate that's taking place in the services. But the question on the market is, will that make up for the slowing and saturating iPhone market? Now, two more points I wanted to bring up, and interesting ones that Tim Cook brought up in our conversation was about the Apple Card. As you know, they introduced it along with Goldman Sachs and Marcus. And to me, Tim Cook says that it was the most successful credit card launch ever. And I said, well, how do you measure success? He goes by the number of subscribers of people that have signed up for it. And he says, you can bet they are looking to take this internationally. And one more interesting point, and I had to ask Tim Cook about crypto, since Facebook is looking to launch Libra. And I said, what about Apple launching a cryptocurrency in the future? Tim Cook said there are some things that government should handle and should oversee, currency being one of them, military being the other. Now, as for 5G, he says we don't comment on upcoming product launches, but he's comfortable with where they are.
That's funny.
Take what you want from that.
That's all good stuff, Susan. The only thing I'm thinking when Susan's talking, he says Tim Cook says that'll be the most successful credit card launch ever. He really has been hanging around with the president a lot, that Tim Cook. So, the thing I was going to say that Lance brought up, and Jonathan, maybe get your take on this about Apple TV Plus, is that they are giving away a lot of it for free. So I think there was some question about how that affects the margins. You give away all these subscriptions for free for a while, and whether that's an issue on the financial side. What do you think?
Yeah, in particular, the entertainment division, that is probably, smartphones are competitive, but this entertainment business, I mean, think about, they're wading into a very competitive industry, a very competitive part of the marketplace, whether it's Disney, whether it's Netflix, but that's part of Apple's whole strategy here, Connell. As you know, introduce people and keep people in this ecosystem, sell them on the hardware, but sell them on the services, as Susan alluded to. They're delivering on that fact. That's why the stock is doing so well.
People buy those new headphones, and then you give away the Plus, TV Plus. All right, Susan, good stuff.
And introducing as well.
In Cupertino with Tim Cook, Jonathan, Todd, and Lance as well. Thanks to everybody on the panel.